chap, and this is the new OPPO Find N2. Now, straight away, I have to give you some bad news, I'm afraid, because yet again, like the original Find N, this is only coming to the Chinese market, which is a real shame because I love this thing. A second generation hinge, and it's the first thing you'll notice. It's smoother, more precise, and less clunky. They've actually reduced the number of components in the hinge by 38, and it can stay open at pretty much any angle, unlike before. OPPO also say the crease down the middle is also now less noticeable, so 8.5% thinner when closed. So it's a little bit less chunky, but really what you're gonna notice is that lighter weight. They've also moved the volume rocker to above the power button, now on the same side, which actually is quite a nice change because it leaves the left side completely clear. So actually, if you are holding it with your left hand, previously your thumb would be resting on the sort of sticky outy volume rocker, but now it's nice and smooth. The power button also doubles as a fingerprint reader, but we do also get face unlocking as well. And also they switched to this matte aluminium material, which does give it also with a nod to the Find X5 and X6 Pro phones, they've added this subtle curve of the material up to the camera module for a more seamless design. And I think overall it's a really nice refinement of the original. Then on the inside, we have this 7.1-inch tablet screen, which is not far off a square really. It's 9 by 8.4. So app and do some reading. I then open up the tablet screen, and I'll tell you what I do love. If you swipe down 2 fingers from the center, you can open up split screen mode, and then you've got your sort of, although of course, depending on the content, for example, if you're watching videos or movies on the main tablet screen, you are going to get some fairly chunky black bars. Now, both the cover and the tablet screens are 120 Hz, but the main screen does also now use the more advanced LTPO tech, so we get 1 to 120 Hz dynamic refresh. And they've also boosted the peak brightness up to 1550 nits. Taking advantage of the bigger screen, we have OPPO's Flex form, and in a handful of apps, although mostly OPPO's own stuff, but also YouTube, it utilizes the extra space quite nicely. It doesn't feel as fully formed as Flex mode on Samsung's foldables, but it's a good start, and it's particularly handy for the camera as it uses its foldable design as a makeshift stand. But before we dive into the cameras, let's talk about what is probably the biggest upgrade on the N2, and that's actually on the inside, because the relatively ancient Snapdragon 888 of the Find N has been upgraded to the 8 Plus Gen 1. The recently released Gen 2 would have been nice, but this is still a huge upgrade. Although bizarrely in Geekbench, we're not actually seeing that much of a significant difference for the processor, not quite sure why, but in 3D Mark, which tests the graphics, we're looking at around an 80% boost. There are also 2 SKUs of this, one with 12 gigs of RAM and 256 storage, and one with 16 and 512. Faster 5G, we have the latest Android 13 and ColorOS 13 software, plus OPPO offer a solid 3 years of Android updates. What has changed is the 50 megapixel main camera now uses the latest IMX890 sensor. The ultrawide and the telephoto also use newer sensors, and we get higher resolutions. And they've also teamed up with Hasselblad for some pro features, which are basically the same as we saw with the OnePlus 10 Pro, including a bespoke pro mode, which uses their color science, as well as a nostalgic and super tall X-Pan photo mode. And of course, no OPPO phone is complete without. And it's basically an extra little AI chip, which helps improve low light and HDR. But the N2's smaller form factor versus most foldable phones definitely makes it stand out, and I really like it, which makes it all the more disappointing it's not currently set to launch outside of China.